All right, good. So welcome to our judging clinic. My name is Joe Wahlberg. I'm the director of speech and debate at St. James Academy, and I am glad you're here. So what we're going to do is we're just kind of walking through a little bit about what you can, let's see, there's somebody, what you can expect in a debate round, kind of like what you're going to see, what debaters can expect of you, a little bit of some terminology. So when you hear some stuff, you know what's happening with it. So uh, yeah, welcome. What we're going to do, though, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open in prayer. This is a prayer that I pray with our students all the time. It's our team prayer that we use at St. James. It's a prayer of St. Columba of Iona, who's a patron of our program. So if you'll join me, we'll begin in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Lord, grant us that love which can never die, which will enkindle our lamps but not extinguish them, so that they may shine in us and bring light to others. Most dear Savior, enkindle our lamps, that they may shine forever in your temple. May we receive unquenchable light from you, so that our darkness will be illuminated and the darkness of the world will be made less. Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. I want to make sure that I am recording this. And is it recording? I think it's recording. Did it do the recording in progress when you joined it? Yeah, I think it did. Nice. Yeah. All right. So first thing I want to do is I want to say thank you. Thank you for volunteering. Now, not I realize that not everybody volunteers for this. They sometimes are voluntold for it, and that is part of the deal of having a kid in high school debate is that you participate in their game by being a judge. Recruiting a judge, we think, is a real life skill. It's a practical communications effort of talking to people of different generations and negotiating, and how do you advocate for yourself and ask adults, ask parents, ask uncles, aunts, neighbors, co-workers, whatever, to come and support you in your game. So I'm proud that our students do it, and I'm excited that you are here. So welcome. Debate in the United States began about 30 years before the Civil War did. Academic debate started as like college debating societies. The modern version of debate emerged about 100 years ago. Actually, 2025 is the 100th anniversary of the National Speech and Debate Association. So when you come and join our tournament on Friday or Saturday, you are taking your place in a long line of academic debate, and I am excited. Speech and debate is the game that formed me as a person. Now I don't know if I should totally blame speech and debate for that because I'm a very particular person, but yeah, I mean it's great. And when I talk to adults later who were speech and debaters in their youth, everybody says the same thing. Say, boy, that was awesome. That's the game that challenged me and pushed me. And so thank you for making space for our students for that, and then for all the students of our community coming to it. So when you show up on Friday or Saturday, what you're going to need for the debate, you're going to need something to write with and something to write on. I suggest also bringing your favorite coffee cup. I will brew some coffee and we'll be ready to go on that. But note taking, since debate is a oral activity, taking some good notes really helps you along the way. So I would suggest that. I will have a few pens and paper, but might be best to bring your favorites. But most importantly, to bring an attitude of trying to help young people trying hard things. If your kid is a debater, you know that this is sometimes a very hard activity, that even kids who enjoy the game will sit there and say, like, dang, debate, man, it whooped me. So that's true. My daughter said to me earlier this year, she says, you always talk about debate like you don't actually enjoy it. And I do. I love it. I just, it's hard. It's hard. And it's sometimes hard for judges also. So I want to begin with the first thing is to reassure you, if you are super nervous about being a speech and debate judge, if you are like, I don't know if I'm going to do this, am I going to screw it up? I'm going to begin with this. Relax. You're probably going to do fine. Debaters learn to speak to audiences all the time of debate veterans and then lay judges. If you are new to speech and debate, we would consider you a lay judge. And that's awesome. Hey, I'm gonna try to put a link in here in the what is this called? This is a judge packet. I'm going to put a link in the chat. So I sent out a link to a Google Doc, so everybody can follow along with the thing that I'm going to put up here. Message everyone. Boom. There's a link in the chat there if you want to look through the document that I am going through with you. Okay. I'm going to have printouts of this. This is the document you're looking at if you open that link onto it. I'm going to have printouts of this on Friday and Saturday. You don't need to print one out. It's okay. I got one for you. But if you want to kind of see what I'm doing. So anyway, back to the topic. I want to say, relax. You're probably going to do fine. Debaters is a communication activity, and it's their job to go communicate with people who are debate weirdos like myself or are totally lay judges, and they're not, former debaters or debate coaches, whatever. They're just like ordinary human beings. Personally, as a judge, as a coach, I love lay judges. I kind of think they're the thing that keeps our game honest. The most important thing is that you will support kids trying something really hard. You're going to be fair in the round. You're going to pick a winner. You're going to write a ballot that gives feedback and gives support. A good debate judge is not necessarily somebody who's an expert in the activity, some grizzled debate veteran. The best debate judge is somebody who's just fair-minded and honest and positive. I will say that our topic this year is about exploring or developing the Arctic. Those verbs mean quite a lot or very narrow, and you'll maybe see some examples of how people want to define those terms. But it's the Arctic. I find that people often don't have really like strongly held opinions on Arctic exploration and development. But if you do, if that's a field of expertise of yours, or just like an axe you like grinding, I'm going to ask you to like not bring that into play and judge the round that's in front of you. And I don't generally find that's problematic for most people. If you are new to policy debate, one of the first things that I need to do, and I do this with my students in class, first thing I need to do is kind of disabuse people of what they are expecting debate looks like. They're imagining, auditoriums and like stages and people walking up at podiums and making smart, intelligent comments about the topic. And this is what people think of. They think, oh my gosh, public speaking, there's going to be hundreds of people there. And this is what they're going into. If you are imagining yourself as a debate judge, is sitting somewhere in this audience in a crowd full of people to go watch, intellectual rigor on stage, the reality is that debate looks a lot smaller than that. It looks like 4 kids and a judge in a classroom. It is public speaking, but it's fairly small public speaking, and the fact that it's just a few people that are in there. What you can't see in this image is the judge. So you're looking at this from the point of view of the judge, but usually the judge just kind of sits on one side of the classroom. The kids will move the desks to where they think they should be. Your dress code for the day is going to be whatever is appropriate for being out in public. Kind of the thing that I say is a vacation casual is fine. You don't need to be in coat and tie. A lot of the debaters will be, but you are welcome to be in whatever you're happy being seen in public for. So let's talk about kind of what policy debate is. And again, some of you have kind of judged some for us in the past. Some of you are brand new to the game. I have a high schooler right now, and I know that I will say like, hey, tell me about whatever class you got. You're like, it was fine. And that's as much as I get out of it. They are teenagers, and that's what they're going to do. But I'm going to say that, first, policy debate is a 2 versus 2 debate. 2 high schoolers versus 2 high schoolers, and they will compete speaking for or against a resolution. A resolution is our topic, and they will either affirm the resolution or negate the resolution. In policy debate, we don't use the term pro or con or for or against. We say affirm or negate. And they will have rounds of speeches. There'll be speeches called constructives, speeches called rebuttals, and then periods called cross-examinations where they'll ask questions. Over the course of the whole debate tournament, teams will rotate positions. One round they're affirmative in a round, one round they're negative in a round, and they get to go 2 or 3 times on each side of the topic. Wins or losses are based on how well that team of debaters, that 2-person team of debaters, convinces their judge that they are correct, that their arguments are correct. That's how debates are won or lost. There are sometimes like style considerations, people that you just enjoy their debating. I mean, you're a judge, you can make whatever judgment you want to onto it. That can certainly be part of your balloting. But the debaters are going to try to convince you of their arguments. That's what they're looking for. As a judge, you're going to make your decision based on the merits of the round that you are watching. So what the affirmative team says, what the negative team says, who you think makes their case better. Yeah, you're going to consider the evidence presented, the way they argue for their topic, the way they deliver it, if they seem like they're clear, if their analytical arguments make sense. All of those are fair topics for what you're going to do in debate. So how do debate speeches work? If you are new to debate, you might be kind of surprised how this works onto it. Debaters will walk up to the front of the room. Sometimes there's a podium. Sometimes they're just standing at a desk in front of you, and they will make their speeches basically out of stringing together evidence, these blocks of text that come from some expert or some article or some journal, or I don't know, sometimes evidence is fairly small. Sometimes it's pretty like big and heady onto it, but it's published material or publicly available material, and debaters are going to read from it. It will honestly look like sometimes they are just reading to their laptop. They'll almost put their computer up and they'll set a chair on the desk and they'll set a computer on the chair and they'll start reading to their computer. And you're like, hey, I'm a human being. I'm back here in the back of the room. Pay attention to me. You can decide if that's something you want or if you want to mark that on the ballot. I wish you would give me eye contact. Whatever, you're the judge onto it. The first speech is usually a fairly rigorously organized speech. It's totally canned. The first affirmative constructive is an 8-minute, totally pre-prepared speech where kids got to go up there and just read a block of text that they've been working on for weeks and weeks and weeks to get just the way they want it. They will read from articles. They will read highlighted words from certain articles. They don't usually read the whole article because debate is timed and you got to cut stuff down on author's right for whatever their publication wants not to be read by a high schooler under time constraints. So they'll kind of cut it down, and they usually will submit the stuff on the internet. If you want to bring a laptop, I totally encourage it. You can go and download the files as the kids say them. They will email them to you, or they'll put up a link on the board and they'll join that way. It is optional. A judge doesn't need to do that. I find most judges enjoy having access to a computer onto it, something like that. But anyway, so the first kid's going to go up there. They're going to just like read a set of speeches. They might read kind of fast. If you are new to debate, it's okay to tell people, like, you're not selling yourself out as a judge. If you go up there when everybody's kind of coming in, so you're like, hey, I'm kind of new to debate. I can't handle a lot of fast speed. I think that is totally acceptable for you to say, and you're not saying like, I'm an incompetent judge, although I totally would have felt like that, if I didn't have debate experience. It's call out what you're looking for. If you want to, you say, hey, I'm kind of new to this game. I'm going to be the best judge I can be, but I can't handle it if you go real fast. You don't have to say that. You're the adult, and they're afraid of you. It's like snakes, like they're more afraid of you than you are of them. But anyway, they might go up there. They might read kind of fast because debaters do work in time constraints. There's only so many minutes in a round. Later arguments will start to pre-assemble things. Later speeches, kids have on their computers or sometimes in accordion files, paper. That's almost all on computers these days. But they've got stuff that they're going to assemble speeches based out of evidence in response to what other speeches have said. Sometimes they will not use a lot of evidence. Sometimes they'll just use analytical arguments, what's up there in the old noodle. And those are considered valid arguments if they are, if they're coherent, and you're welcome to listen to them. Generally we say evidenced arguments are stronger, but there's actually nothing wrong with analytical arguments onto it. So like I say, debate speeches work by stringing together pieces of evidence, typically in an outline format or something kind of like an outline format. The first speech is pre-written. The rest are more or less assembled from the parts. Later speeches, as you get further and further in the round, they tend to be more analytical and less evidence-based, but you'll see a range of it, especially if you're judging for us all day. You'll see the whole gamut from there. Our topic this year, like I said, is about exploration of the Arctic. Whether exploration or development of the Arctic, whether or not the federal government should substantially increase that, substantial or significantly increase that. Those words matter. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. And you'll find that there is a variety of ways to define basically every word in that sentence, which may or may not be parts of the argument. There are 8 speeches in the round and 4 cross-examination periods. A constructive is where a debater is going to introduce new arguments. They're going to construct their position. Cross-examinations is where one side asks questions to the other. So like if the affirmative just gives their speech, somebody on the negative is going to come up and ask them questions about the speech they just gave. Then there's going to be a negative, constructive, and that goes back and forth until you switch down to rebuttals. Rebuttals are where they start to synthesize their arguments, make them stronger, make sure they have totally answered what their opponents have said, and they're kind of trying to put a bow onto it by the end of the speech. That's kind of the function of it. We have people in their first year of debate. We have 4-year veterans and everybody in between it. You will see a variety of approaches and a variety of skill sets. High school is where you learn this stuff. Some kids look like they are pretty finished products, and sometimes they look like they are really learning what they're doing. Okay. Let's get into what how I want you to come in and check in with us. So first thing is before the round starts, I would like you to come check in at the judges table. The judges table is going to be just a folding table right inside the front door of St. James. So you're going to park anywhere in the parking lot. You're going to come in the front door of the Circle Drive, and there's going to be a smiling kid, St. James student, sitting there at a folding table, and they're going to welcome you in. If we already have rounds ready to go, there'll be a bunch of sheets of paper that are put out. Those are your ballots. I have a picture of a ballot up here on the screen we can look at, but if they're not quite ready to go out, there will be a hospitality room just inside. It's kind of that open gathering space between the chapel and the lunchroom, kind of that carpeted area is our hospitality room on Saturday. If it is on Friday, we're kind of working around our home football game, and there's only so many square feet in our building. So anyway, but you're going to come in about 15 minutes before the round starts. And you're going to get your ballot. You're just going to pick up your ballot from the judges table, and you're just going to have your name on the top of it. And maybe if, you're going to ask the kid like, "Oh, listen, I'm Mr. Thompson. Can I find my ballot?" And they'll find your ballot for you and hand it to you. If you are going to work on a laptop, you are welcome to do so if you have a Tabroom login. So tabroom.com, you can set up your own login, use the email address that you gave to me onto it. You can make a Tabroom login, and you can do all of this stuff digitally if you like. But I still want you to come to the judges table and pick up your ballot, even if you're going to type it and stuff, just so I kind of know who's there. You're going to get your ballot. You're going to only get your ballot. If you're going to sit there and say like, "Oh, my husband is around the corner. Let me just go get his ballot for him." Bring your husband to us. We just kind of want to see all of our humans that we've got there and make sure to them. Because sometimes people are like, "I'm going to go find her." And they go running off down the hall and they never find her, and we never find you. And I don't know if that round started or not. Some of our rounds may be paneled. There may be 3 adults in the round serving as judge. More often than not, it's just going to be solo you in there, which is fine. Don't be intimidated by it. Debaters aren't intimidated by it. You're going to be fine in it. I would like you to be at your classroom about 5 minutes before the round is scheduled to begin. We ask the debaters not to go into a room until they've got an adult in there. So they're waiting on you. They will need a couple of minutes to set up. They might have to move the desks. They got to set up their files. It'll take them a couple of minutes. They can't just quite swoop in and start talking onto it. So it'll take them a couple of minutes. If you can get there about 5 minutes before the round starts, that's going to be pretty great. Yes, you can eat in the classrooms. Yes, you can have a bottle of water, a cup of coffee. You're allowed. Green light. When the round starts, so where are we at here? At the beginning of the round, like I said, you're going to be in your room 5 minutes before the round's going to begin. Teams will come in and they're going to enter their names on the ballot. Some coaches have pre-populated this, so their names will just print onto the ballot. And sometimes they will even say, "This is the first negative, this is the second negative." Some coaches don't do that, and they've got to write it in. 1N, 2N, right? First negative and second negative. Those are the speaker positions. And if you're looking at the ballot that I got there on the screen, that's the left column by the name. So that says speaker. And you might see that it says that in that case, the debaters have written in 1 and 2 onto it. That's the first and second in their team. Okay. Some teams try to shake your hand like, "Hi, I'm Timmy Johnson." I don't know. Nobody wants to go touch a teenager. I get it. I always kind of dap them up instead of shaking their hands because teenagers are gross. But whatever, that's fine. You're welcome to shake their hand. They'll try to. They may ask you for your paradigm. What that is, that's kind of a debate lingo for what do you like to see as a judge? And it is totally acceptable to say, "You know what? I'm new to judging. I'm looking forward to a good debate." That is a paradigm that a debater will recognize what to do. They'll understand what you're saying if you say that you are new to debate. Or you could say "You know what? I've judged a couple rounds. I like good, clear argumentation." Or you can say "Boy, I just really like it when people make their case well." I mean, whatever. They may ask you a paradigm, they may not. Debaters are afraid of you. They might be afraid to ask something. But if they ask for a paradigm, what they're doing there, and it is okay to admit that you are a debate veteran or new to the game, they're just trying to know what their approach should be in talking to you. During the round, you're going to just listen to what the kids say. You actually don't need to give any feedback during the round. You don't need to like, woo, way to go, yay. You don't need to do that at all. You just listen to the arguments. You take notes as necessary. Again, bring a pad of paper and a pen. This probably will help you a lot if you can kind of take notes as you go onto it. Some people will make ballot comments as they go. I really do recommend that you go and you just fill out your ballot as you go. Some people wait until the end. My suggestion is go stream of consciousness ballots are totally acceptable. We see them all the time in debate. So as you're thinking about it, fill out your ballot, your comments. Boy, your second negative constructive was really great. I like the way that you handled this topic. Something like that. They would be great. And you can write on both sides of your ballot. You can flip it over and write all the way on the back too. If you are a big commenter, you can. We see a range in the course of the debate. You don't need to be an official timekeeper. When I'm judging, I will keep time just kind of for my own use. I don't try to do it to regulate the round. You are not a referee. You don't need to call the balls and strikes. The students will do that. The debaters will keep their own time, and they will keep each other's time at the same time. It's funny. They'll pull out kitchen timers, and both kids will set 8 minutes on the timer, and they will both hit the start button at the same time. And it's the kind of the theater of the debate round. They'll do that. But the kids, they will do that. You are not a referee. You are a judge. I would like you also not to interrupt the round unless it's an absolute emergency. Like if something is, you know what emergencies are, whatever, like don't interrupt the round. Just let the kids play out. They're going to go. If you are on a panel with other judges, don't confer with your other judges. Let each person just kind of sit there and make their own impressions out of it. I would also like you not to reveal your decision. So at the end of the round, you can't say like, woo, negative team, you got it, you're our winner, and like high five them. Just write it on your ballot. And, I even like fold it up and kind of keep it secret onto it. I'll tell you that debate coaches prefer to keep a little bit of mystery. I do it. It drives your kids crazy. But debate coaches in general like to keep a little bit of mystery because we like to put keep our high school kids facing forward on their next round, not worried about their last round. So don't reveal your decision to anybody. Some kind of veteran judges will start giving feedback. They'll like give you live oral criticism, not live, but right after the round, they'll give oral criticisms. I would like you to not do that. Get moving. We have a really big tournament. This is the biggest tournament St. James has ever hosted in our we're in our 20th year of being a school. We've never had a tournament this size. And tournament's got to go on. Please don't get that ballot and get it back to us. I would appreciate it. If I'm looking down at the packet, I'm on page 2 here, and let's talk about how to decide a winner of a round. So there's actually no real formula on how to decide a winner. There's no scoring. You are not a scorekeeper. You are a judge. You make a judgment based on what you've seen. Based on those two teams presenting their arguments, you're going to make a judgment on there. So some people see themselves as a policy maker. It's their job. Like, okay, would I actually advocate for this policy based on how the affirmative team has defended it? Or would I be against it based on how the negative team has argued it, right? Is the policy a good idea or a bad idea? Are the downsides worse than the upsides or the other way around? Some people see debate as a communication activity. It's not about policy. It's about how well you communicate to your judge at hand and decide which side communicated their position better onto it. Some people see debate as like a popularity contest and just like how much I like that kid. Please don't be that judge. Please go ahead and evaluate the merits of their argument and their argumentation, not whether or not you think a kid is annoying. Promise that I work with teenagers. They're all annoying. You can't vote against all of them. You will sometimes hear people talk about the rules of debate. And so you'll hear kids like, oh, they broke the rules of debate. Again, you are not a referee. You don't really have to you do not expect to know the rules. And the truth is, there are almost no rules in debate. It's actually kind of a hard game to coach because there are almost no rules of debate. There are conventions of the debate. There are ways that arguments work or don't work, but in reality, there's some rules about how evidence is cited, and it rarely gets challenged. There's time limits. which kid goes in which order, and even which kid goes in which order is not all that clear in the rules. But I don't think you're going to see any shenanigans. Don't get worried about the rules of debate. The truth is there aren't that many rules in debate because, you're a judge. We ask you to make judgments onto it. As I turn to page 3, I have kind of a long list of some debate terminology, and I'm going to hit them real fast. If you want to read more about these, like I said, I've got it in the packet that's linked in the chat. I also have printouts of these, and it's the link that I sent out earlier. But you might hear people talk about their case being prima facie, which is how debaters say the Latin term prima facie. But prima facie means that it basically, like, an affirmative needs to set up a case that affirms the resolution and that their plan works. It's policy debate. They got to have a working policy out of it, and they've got to kind of have that if the negative never said a word, you would see that the affirmative plan can work. Kids work really hard to make this happen, that they can present a prima facie case. They work on it for weeks and weeks and over and over and over again. Their opponents are going to challenge them on it because that's what debate is. You might hear the term status quo. Status quo is something that debaters talk about all the time, and ordinary human beings don't always. Status quo basically means the state of things, the way things are right now. So you and I are currently living in the status quo of October 21st, 2025. The way things are, we are living in a status quo. If we voted for the affirmative, we would be changing our status quo. An affirmative will usually argue there's something broken in the status quo that needs fixing, and that's where they promote their plan. A negative may or may not defend the status quo. A negative has a variety of options to it, but they may or may not say that, you know what, things are fine right now. They might say that things are not fine and that we have a new approach to it. There's a variety of positions as long as they're negating what the affirmative says. You might hear the term fiat. Fiat, I first learned in policy debate and then would later learn is sometimes a theological term for it. It's a Latin term again. It means let it be or make it so. It is generally an affirmative consent idea, but it's the idea that if the judge votes affirmative, then the plan will happen. It will fiat into existence. Now, you and I both know, because we are adults, we know that real world policymaking doesn't happen that way. Congress could go pass a law, a president could veto the law, the Supreme Court could challenge the law, policies could run out of money before they get put into place. Like all of those things are real life what it is. Fiat is kind of like a magic wand of debate that says, if the judge votes affirmative, we're going to assume this happens. Fiat exists because the resolution, go back to our resolution on page 1. Our resolution has the word should. So fiat exists to have the word should. If I am losing you on debate lingo, just bring this with you. It may or may not come up in your round, but I want to throw it out there. You'll hear people talk about a disadvantage or a DA or a disad. It is a negative position that says, hey, there are some unforeseen consequences. If you vote affirmative, this kind of bad thing is happening. And it is disadvantageous that we have that. Debaters joke that the purpose of high school debate is to go end the world in nuclear war or in global warming destruction. Those are kind of common impacts that you'll hear to disadvantages. You might hear the term counterplan, which is a negative position that says you shouldn't vote affirmative. Here is some other plan that you should have and propose for it. A negative team may or may not have a counter plan. It's one of the strategies they might take. You are not required to listen for a counter plan like, oh, they're just against the F and they never proposed anything new. Actually, the negative doesn't have to propose a counter plan. It is fine for them to say, like, you just shouldn't do that one. They could defend the status quo altogether. You might hear the term critique. You might hear it called the K, which, I went to college and that's not how you spell the word critique. You don't spell critique with a K. Well, you do if you're German. And critique is a philosophical argument that entered debate through German philosophy. And it's kind of like a social criticism that is related to the round. About 10 years ago, everybody, and I was teaching social studies at the time, everybody was super worried about critical race theory. We used to hear it all the time. Oh my gosh, critical race theory. And I don't know, the zeitgeist has changed. We don't worry about critical race theory anymore. I learned first about critical race theory as a high school debater in the 90s. That's an example of a critique. It's some kind of a social criticism that would apply affirmative or negative in the round. It's not specifically speaking like a policy debate argument, but since debate has so few rules. It is a way to like evaluate around. I don't know that you're going to see any, but you might hear something called the K. It's a philosophical argument in the round, and it's considered usually a fair argument in a debate round. The last thing I want to say before we move on is there's something called stock issues. And stock issues are sometimes thought of as the rules of debate. The reality is that there are no rules of debate. Stock issues are just how policies are made in the real world. We think these things, I use an acronym of THIS, THIS, topicality, harms, inherency, solvency. In my classes I teach, there are 4 stock issues. You will hear debate coaches say there are 5, there are 6, there are 7 stock issues. We call them stock issues, and you think if something is stock, they would be uniform. It's just a way of how policies are made. Are we talking about the same topic? What is the harm that I'm trying to solve, or what is the harm I might cause? How real is it? How significant is it? How present is it? So topicality, harms. Inherency is just whether or not somebody is working on this issue now. Is somebody trying to solve this problem? Is the affirmatives plan a brand new idea, or is it a modification of a current idea? And then lastly, solvency. Does the affirmatives plan actually solve the harm that they see, or does it not solve the harm they see? Those are the stock issues. These are less common than they used to be. When I was debating in the 90s, we talked about stock issues all the time. Sometimes modern debate kind of loses that lingo a little bit, but you might hear it. They are not the rules of debate, but they are the way that policies are made in the real world. Okay, when the round is over, as the round is complete, what I want you to do is finish your ballot. Go fill it out. Make a decision. Who won the round? Am I voting affirmative, or am I voting negative? If you are looking at the sample ballot on the screen, I've redacted most of the words onto it, but you see that one side says AF and one side says neg, and they are blocked out with names onto it. Then underneath it says winner, debating on the whatever, AF side. So winner would be, you could write the kids' names, you can write the school name, you can write their code, whatever it is. Actually, I'm mostly looking for AF or neg on that line. And you'll see that is up there. If you're looking on the packet I emailed you, it is the last page of the packet. Or if you're looking at the link I put in the thing, it's the last page of the packet. It's a nice bigger picture on that. But you're just going to go through and you have to pick a winner. I'm going to say that a lot of times debate judges don't like to do this. They don't like to pick winners and losers. I'm going to tell you, this is a competitive game. You got to pick a winner and a loser. It's your job as a judge. You're going to do it. I'm also going to say that whatever you pick is going to be the right answer. Congratulations, you're going to make the right decision. Your decision is not subject to appeal. They cannot go over your head. If the team comes up to me and they say, Mr. Wahlberg, you're hosting this tournament, and I think I should have won that round, I'm going to say, judge didn't vote for you. And that kid's coach is going to console them and say, hey, next time we're going to try a little harder on this. It is not subject to appeal. They're actually very strict rules from the Kansas State High School Activities Association. That kid can't even talk to you about it when you're done. Congratulations. You are like immune from any criticism on this. Now, that said, picking a side of winners or losers, I typically find is actually not that hard. Sometimes rounds get kind of close, but usually you kind of got an idea if somebody's going to win or lose this thing. The hardest thing to do is ranking them, because you also have to decide who was the number 1 best debater in that round, and you're going to have to put a 1 by their name. You're going to say who was the number 2 best debater in the round. You put a 2, 3, and 4. Ranking, if it's sometimes going to break your heart. I'm going to tell you, please don't let it break your heart. Debaters see this stuff all the time. Debate coaches see this stuff all the time. You got to do it. You got to decide the number 1 kid in the round who is the best, the number 4 kid in the round who is not the best, and you're going to have to put it up there. Your decision also needs to match. The winning team has to have a better ranking than the losing team, or at least equal ranking to the losing team. You can't have the 2 worst debaters win the round. Not the way it works. You're going to provide good feedback to the round on why you made the decision that you wanted to make. I agree with your argument on this, and I disagree with this, so I voted AF or I voted neg onto it. You're going to explain why you voted AF or neg. It is okay to be critical. It is okay to I don't criticize children, but it's okay to kids they got to know why they lost. Kids got to know why they lost. So I heard this argument, I didn't believe it, or their answer was better than your answer. Kids got to know why they lost. But be positive about it. They are children. And yeah. Then you're going to come and turn your ballot back into the judges table where you got it originally. If you are judging the next round, I'll probably have a ballot for you. If you are not judging the next round, you are welcome to grab a cookie and then go out to glorify the Lord by your life. Okay. What kind of so I do need you to give some feedback to the debaters to tell me, how they're going to do it. So, good helpful feedback, good green light feedback to write on a ballot. It's funny, I had never really thought about this, and my wife started judging a couple rounds for me. She's like, what do people write on their ballots? And I'm like, oh, how about that? Let's do it. So comments about organization. Boy, you're so well organized. Or I couldn't follow the logic and organization of the negative team. The validity of their arguments. They're like, boy, I heard what you were saying, and I just didn't buy it. I just wasn't convinced. You did a good job explaining a really complicated issue, or I didn't understand your explanation of this issue. You refuted everything from the negative team. You might also make a comment on eye contact or posture or clarity or pace or volume. A lot of ballots say like, hey, you spoke too fast in too quiet of a voice. I just couldn't hear you, so I couldn't vote for you. I think that's a pretty legitimate thing to write on a ballot. I also find sometimes I just don't have anything positive to say about a kid. I mean, they're high schoolers. There's people that are still learning how to do this. I get a ballot, I'm like, man, I just don't have much positive to say about a kid, but I want to give them something to work with. So I say, boy, you sure stood up straight at the podium. Thank you for having good posture, whatever. I don't know. But also, it's also fair to criticize that. I had no eye contact here. All you did was read to your computer. Those are good, helpful feedback positions. Now, yellow light on these. These are sometimes not good answers, and I want to be fair about it. Aggressive or assertive behavior sometimes doesn't, sometimes these aren't very helpful comments. Okay, I'm gonna need a sidebar on this and just kind of get real about it. Boys and girls get different kinds of feedback on their ballots. Boys, if they are aggressive or assertive and around, as long as they're not being jerks, generally get away with it. And I often find that girls being assertive and around get criticized for it. And I don't exactly know why. I don't know why judges will sometimes see assertiveness in a boy as appropriate and assertiveness in a girl as being kind of catty. But it comes across that way. So when you're filling out your ballot, I want you to be attentive for this. If somebody's being a jerk, absolutely mention that. The coach needs to know it. The kid needs to know it. Like, if you don't appreciate their style, it is absolutely appropriate to do. But I want you to be careful about how you're writing it. Okay. Pitch of voice. Again, girls get criticized for their voice. Boys never do. I don't know if pitch of voice is actually that helpful of a comment. If there's something that really needs to be discussed, put that in there. If somebody's like voicing their words oddly, I don't know. Go tread lightly on that comment. I'll also say that humor. I think of myself as a funny person. I enjoy jokes. Humor does not work in debate. Trying to be funny on a ballot just doesn't work in a debate. The kids just are going to. They just won't see jokes. They just won't see the jokes. So please don't try to crack jokes on a ballot. Even if you are not trying to be personal, high school kids, it will just seem very personal to them. It's a little bit developmental of being an adolescent. It's also the stress of coming off of just doing something really hard in a debate round. So go easy on that. Some things I absolutely do not want you to mention. Some things I do not want you to mention. Any positive or negative comments about a person's appearance, even if you're trying to compliment them. You want to say like, hey kid, nice tie. Those are really neat shoes. I like your dress. Your jacket looked really smart. You're like, listen, people like to be complimented. Please just don't mention it. Please just don't mention it. The other team is not going to take that feedback well. I don't know, it's often misconstrued. There's sometimes a financial discrepancy that kids are trying to not show, or they are trying to show it. And please just don't mention anything about appearance. We'll also have, people coming from all over the state of Kansas to our tournament. You will see a range of dress. You will see a range of teenagers trying to figure themselves out. Let's just not mention on a ballot, please. Thank you. If you have some specific concern, if you see somebody that is wearing clothes that seems inappropriate to the debate, you tell me. Okay, it is okay to talk to me. I will hear you out. I'm not gonna like be upset. If you have a concern, you come tell me. I'll decide if I need to go talk to their coach. I'm not even going to go talk to the kid. I'm going to go talk to their coach, somebody that knows that kid. But please just don't mention appearance. Any comments about outside of a school's kid's ability to control? Or you say, boy, kid, I sure wish you would debate with a computer instead of on paper. They might not have a computer. Their coach might not let them have a computer. They might insist on it. It might be like, I've never seen this in person. We used to do some online debates and had somebody say like, boy, I sure wish you stood up when you spoke. And this was online, like we're mediated through Zoom. Kid was in a wheelchair, couldn't stand up. Judge felt bad about it later. Let's just not make that comment, right? So anything a kid can't solve themselves, remember they're 15-year-olds. They only have so much ability to solve things in the world. We got to be fair to an adolescent. And lastly, I want to say on this, please, unhelpful feedback, your own arguments about a round that didn't take place in the round. I wish you would have discussed this topic. Nobody brought this up, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You're judging the round you saw, not the round you wish you saw. So let's make comments about stuff. I'll say I've made this mistake as a judge. You should have gone for this argument. I've made that mistake as a judge. Let's just not talk about the arguments they didn't make, stuff that didn't happen in a round. Judge the round that's in front of them. Okay, let's put a bow on this thing. You're probably going to do fine. This is the first slide that I showed you. It's come back to us. You're probably going to do fine. Judges, you're going to make the right decision. If you are honest and fair and evaluate this round that you just saw and you make good feedback, you know what? You did it. And thank you. Thank you for helping our tournament. Thank you for helping the future of speech and debate. Thank you for helping your own kid. The most important thing you can do is render a good ballot and be fair and be supportive of kids trying something hard. A good debate judge is fair-minded, they are honest, they are positive, and they judge the round that they saw, not the round they wish they saw. With that, that's what makes a good judge. Thank you. Okay, in a moment, I am going to stop recording and I will hang back. If you've got any questions, I will answer any questions. Let's see, how do we do this? There it is.